Welcome back to Biblical Questions Answered, Episode 3. Today's question is, how was the Bible transmitted to us? Or, in other words, how did the Bible get from the original text to today? And since I'm going to be covering about 3,500 years in about 5 minutes, expect a lot of simplifying and skipping over certain things because it'll be topics for other videos. So, the Old Testament. It started out, priests copied it. It wasn't widely copied. They didn't have many copies of it because that wasn't the purpose for it. It wasn't meant to have lots of copies. Now eventually, and of course that changed in about the 3rd or 2nd centuries BC with the Septuagint. They began translating in Greek. Some people say it was most likely a commission by Ptolemy II, who was a king in Egypt. And it was completed in about 132, and it became the standard and was fairly widely copied around Israel, around the Mediterranean, because of the dispersion of Jewish people over the years. Now, after Christ came, the Jews started making other Greek texts. Now, why would they do that? Well, maybe they just didn't like Christians. That's entirely possible. There are certain differences with certain texts about messianic prophecy, but that's another video. And so they made some more Greek translations, but eventually you had the Masoretes in the 8th century who began a meticulous copying of the Old Testament from the 8th century AD onwards for a while. And it would eventually become the basis for the Old Testament for most, if not all, copies of the Bible made, of all the translations of the Bible made in the Reformation and afterwards. There are a few who don't do that today, who take some parts of the Masoretic and then they take some stuff from the Septuagint and maybe some Dead Sea Scrolls, but those are not very many of them do that. So that's it for the Old Testament. The New Testament is... I enjoyed talking about the New Testament a bit more because we have far more information. And the reason we have far more information is because the New Testament, unlike so many other ancient texts of its day, was copied. An immense amount of copies. It was really the first religious text to be copied en masse by common people for their own personal use, which was not a very common thing for common people to do. So, now because of that, while we do have a vast amount of copies, we also have a vast amount of differences. However, it's mostly just grammar and spelling, which, if someone ever comes up to you and says, oh, there are tens of thousands of differences in these copies, so you can't trust the Bible. Know that most of it is grammar and spelling, and that just comes from the fact that they're not really professional. They're farmers and blacksmiths. It's not their first job. Now, eventually, in the year 382, Jerome made the Latin Vulgate under commission from, I believe, Rome, which afterwards, and not without contention, but afterwards, and for over a millennium, became the standard for Scripture, at least in the West. And that was until some very brave men in the Reformation, whose names include such men as John Wycliffe, Martin Luther, and William Tyndale. I'm sure there are many others, but I don't have a whole lot of time to go through all their stories. And they brought the Scripture back to the people. And from there, our knowledge of the languages of and of the culture of their days have grown, and as long as we are faithful, we can look forward to even better translations in the future. And while I'm sure I have missed a lot of stories and interesting tales from this, I don't have all day, and I have to make this is an introduction video. I'm sure I'll make other videos in the future. In fact, my next video will be highly focused on the King James Version. Specifically, is the King James Version inspired? Ah yeah, that's going to be a fun question. And with that, it's the end of the video. Like, comment, subscribe, I guess, if you want to. Doesn't entirely matter to me, but I do want to make money, and making it on this channel would be very nice. So, until next time, take care.